joining us now on the program to talk about how we can avoid some of those safety issues becoming a problem is Chief Greg Flynn from the West Bloomfield Fire Department. Chief Flynn, welcome to the program.
Tyler, Ronnie, good morning.
Good morning, Chief. How are you? How are your firefighters?
We are doing well, thank you. We've had a nice stretch of warm weather, and the sun is out. Things are going well here in West Bloomfield.
Last time we had you on, you talked about yourself and some of your other firefighters on your team as well, taking some days to rest as the COVID-19 pandemic response sort of slowed down a little bit. Catch your breath a little bit, take some time for yourselves. Are you guys feeling refreshed and re-energized?
We are, and I'm recognizing that a dog can be more popular on this show than the fire chief. So I think that was a nice addition, bringing Ruby.
Yeah, Ruby was a fan favorite. We definitely enjoyed having Ruby on with us. So residents are now legally allowed to set off fireworks now through July 4th until 11:45 p.m. at night, each night leading up to the 4th holiday. Any helpful tips for residents to stay safe in celebrating the holiday without having to call your department for help?
Sure. By far the safest way to enjoy the holiday and to enjoy fireworks display is to attend a professional show. One of the shows that's set up, that's pre-inspected, that has a permit process that we go through, that has a safety radius for everybody to enjoy a safe fireworks display. That is by far the best way for folks to enjoy a show.
But Chief, let me ask, have you issued any permits? Are there any professional shows actually going on, or have they all been canceled?
Nope, there are some shows going on. I believe our first one, and we can get that information to you. I don't have them all memorized off the top of my head, but I think the first one is Friday that I heard in a briefing on Monday. But those shows, we're encouraging folks that attend those and those that are the program sponsors for those shows to, again, the physical distancing to be part of it, for folks to just really keep all of the guidance that we've been suggesting, to continue to follow through on all of that. You're probably hearing the crew getting dispatched out on a medical there. I apologize for the sound there.
All right, Chief Greg Flynn with us from the West Bloomfield Township Fire Department on the Oakland County Megacast. So people will all ultimately be using their own fireworks regardless. The consumer fireworks sales have skyrocketed because of a lot of these shows being canceled or around the area. So in terms of people that are using their own fireworks and are using these flammables and the explosives, what can they do to make sure they're operating their own little shows and using their fireworks safely in order to prevent fires and other major injuries?
Right. So I think it's really important that we recognize that people are able to legally utilize the fireworks on their property. They're not allowed to launch them from the roadway. They're not allowed to go to other public spaces, wide open spaces that you might think would be a safe place to do it, like a local school or a local place of worship that may have a big open field. You are not allowed to go there and launch from those sites. You need to keep all of those away from combustibles as well. So dry grass, dry lawn clippings, those types of things. All of that you want to stay clear of. And you also want to make sure that you have some kind of extinguisher with you. So whether that's a hose or a commercial extinguisher, a bucket to put the fireworks after you're all done and you're cleaning up and you want to put those away. We encourage you to soak those before you put those into a canister. One of the biggest fires I've been on in my career here, two of them actually. One of them was from on a New Year's Eve fireworks display where the folks put the fireworks into a trash can, put them into their garage afterwards, and there was a large structure fire as a result of that. And the other one was the Fruhoff fire, which was a result of a firework underneath I believe the ultimate determination was up there on the roof somewhere, and that sparked the fire, and that was a large fire as well. But both directly related to fireworks. And Tyler, there's been countless boat fires where people are doing it down at they're setting these off at a beach, or they're launching them off from their property but out away from their beach, and then those come to rest on neighbors' boats, neighbors' docks, and they start a fire.
Chief Greg Flynn with us from the West Bloomfield and Tri-City Fire Departments on the Oakland County Megacast. So in these situations, a lot of times people are are lighting their fireworks and maybe they don't go off or they don't entirely go off, and they're wondering, okay, what am I supposed to do with this? Do I put it to the side and leave it there? Do I try to relight it? Do I throw it away? What should people do in the case of a misfire or a non-fire to keep themselves safe from these potentially very deadly instruments?
Right. The last thing that we want to do is try to reignite a firework that didn't go off. You also don't want to lean over top of the firework to see down into the tube, if you will. If there's something going on, just consider that to be a dud. We're going to leave that off to the side for a few minutes, make sure that it's not going to go off. And then we're just going to douse and soak that firework as well and make sure that it's completely extinguished and no longer is a threat or a risk to those that are enjoying the show there.
Are you a little bit concerned because we've not had a lot of rain? It is very dry out there right now.
Oh, Ronnie, that's a great point. And, this is where I have a great deal of confidence in the residents of West Bloomfield, Sylvan, Kego, and Orchard. They're critical thinkers. They're smart when it comes to their situational awareness. And I'm very confident that our residents recognize that. And that's why so many of our residents will enjoy a public show. Or even this year, I'm sure there'll be creative residents that get a data projector and a movie screen and just put a recorded show up for everyone. And we kind of maybe laugh at that a little bit. But it's a safe way that we can all enjoy fireworks, still embrace and celebrate the holiday and what it represents, but not put our neighbors at risk. Those that suffer from anxiety and post-traumatic stress as a result of the loud noises and the booms that the fireworks put off, and also our pets. They're a loving part of our families for many of us, and the fireworks do contribute to some anxiety with them as well. And so overall, enjoying a professional show is the way to go.
Chief Greg Flynn from the West Bloomfield and Tri-City Fire Departments with us on the Oakland County MegaCast. In our local area, in the greater West Bloomfield area, in southeastern Michigan and Oakland County, a hallmark of the summer season is people being out on the lakes, on boats, and in the water and on the beaches. And there's some safety concerns that go along with that, too. I know for sure in Kego Harbor, their police department does a lot of boater training every single year, and other local departments as well. People are back on the water. They're going out to do other recreational activities on top of just boating. What are some common safety issues that your department and other law enforcement and public safety departments run into over the summers with in terms of boating? And what are some preventative measures that can help prevent those?
Well, one of the things that bridges the gap between both of these topics, both fireworks and water safety, is the absence of alcohol when doing both of those things. Those don't mix with high risk, high hazard type things. We know that we have lost many lives to drownings in West Bloomfield over the course of my career, far too many. And one of the frustrating things about that is they're preventable, right? How do we prevent them? We wear a flotation device, or we have flotation devices available. We're aware of the occupants that are in our watercraft or on our watercraft, whether or not they are a good swimmer or not. And we don't ever take things for granted. Storms can blow in. We need to have a responsible plan for how we're going to get off of the water, or if there is an emergency on the water, we have to have a plan. And that's what our friends up at Kego Harbor PD often, if there is a stop or there's an opportunity to have a touch point with the public to educate them, that's really what law enforcement is trying to do most of the time. I've met many law enforcement officers over the course of my career, and they're not out to get people. What they're out to do is reduce risk and keep people safe. That's what all of us in public safety are doing. You'll hear me say I'm the chief community risk officer for the Tri-Cities in West Bloomfield. That's what my role is, not to come out and take away people's fun. It's to make sure that we're all enjoying our parks, our communities, our neighborhoods, our open spaces, the water, in a way that's respectable for everybody. And that kind of even links in a little bit of this whole mask discussion at all of these events that you're talking about, whether you're on a boat or you're at the fireworks or you're going to the grocery store. Wearing your mask and keeping some physical distance is just a kind and respectful thing to do to others within our community.
It is, and that was something that I was going to touch on, because it is a concern with people that even in the comfort of their own homes, maybe they're inviting some friends over, and they know that their family's safe, my family's safe. We're just hanging out and enjoying fireworks or shooting off some fireworks. You still have to maintain that distance because unless you're cohabitating with someone, you could still potentially be asymptomatic and putting them at risk or vice versa. So it's critical for these people to continue to take those precautions, even if they are comfortable with the other people and are fairly certain that they are healthy.
Well, Tyler, you and Ronnie led off with the story, the bar in Lansing or East Lansing. That demonstrates for us exactly what we're talking about. With a few precautions, we could have prevented that whole thing from happening. I get it. I get that people want to get out. I understand where they're coming from. All we're asking folks to do, and instead, is to take three things that we have been saying since two things since we've been saying since day one here: good hand washing and keep some physical or social distance. The thing that's been added in the past few weeks or months, and quite frankly, I apologize, I'm losing track of the time from where we started and where we are today, but we're asking people to wear a face covering. And there's so much confusion out there between what a face covering is, what a surgical mask is, and what an N95 mask is, what a healthcare provider would use. And Tyler, the problem is, and I go back to I think you and Dave had started that dictionary of terms that we have been using, and other members of other folks that have been on the show have used. But a mask is just too broad of a term for what we're asking people to do. I've seen colleagues and or just acquaintances on social media, posting literature that it's completely unfounded, completely just not germane to the conversation. Nobody is saying that a face covering is going to stop you from getting the coronavirus. I haven't heard any professionals saying that. What they're saying is it's protecting others from you if you are asymptomatic and spreading the disease, because it's droplet spread, and the face covering kills the distance, or shortens the distance that droplet can travel. It is that simple. And to hear people argue behind the physics of that by preventing that droplet that's contaminated with coronavirus from traveling further and getting to you, just doesn't make sense to me. And this isn't political. This isn't what network you watch or what party you affiliate with. This is just good disease mitigation.
Chief Greg Flynn with us on the Oakland County MegaCast.
So one thing I want to ask, because the nature of your job and the job of your staff members, you cannot socially distance when you're trying to render aid or help someone. So what has your department taken out of this, and what are the good practices that you've learned and will continue on with even when this pandemic is over?
So great question, Ronnie. And one of the things that our crews start with every day is a medical surveillance, health screening, if you will. So their temperature is checked at the beginning of the shift and at the end of their shift. They go through a cleaning and disinfecting process within the whole station. What you can't really see behind me here on the floor is there's some demarcation lines that show a hot zone and a cold zone. So when the crews get back from a high risk run, that they actually are able to doff any of the gear that they have or any of the clothing that may be contaminated, and then move in and decon or decontaminate, if you will. Over my left shoulder here, you see in some of these openings back there, I don't quite have this weather person thing down. But there's a decontamination gun. So it's an electrostatic gun that we put a disinfectant fluid in, and then we're able to spray it, and that the charge that's put on those molecules takes that disinfectant and it creeps and gets all the way around, because the droplets repel each other. So they stack up, and it really encompasses the bars around the stretcher or the nooks and crannies inside of the ambulance. Those are things that are best practices. Our paramedics are wearing N95 masks. So that's blocking 95% of the particulate that's in the air from getting to them. So that's why you see an N95 or an N100. That's telling us how much particulate it's blocking. And so those are all things that they're doing. I have a stock of PPE over to the side of me here for gowns, gloves, masks, all of these things we're getting caught up on. I just had one of our logistics folks show up where, Costco has bleach wipes. They're out there, Ronnie. And what we're doing is we saw the trends all go down because folks were listening and they were doing the right thing. And I think they still are. Don't get me wrong. I think our narrative here locally is we are getting it and managing it very well. Where I'm struggling and where I think some of your questioning is coming from is we're getting fatigued from doing all of this. And we want to know when it's over. When can I stop doing this? When do I have, and even in your question, what are we going to adopt and keep going? You won't find a runner, a cloth runner, a carpet runner in the fire station anymore. It's down to the tile. Why? Why? Because they can disinfect that very easily every single day and multiple times a day if we need to. And so some of those creature comforts that we've adopted in the engine house, we're doing away with because it helps keep us safer and healthy to serve the public.
Chief Greg Flynn with us on the Oakland County MegaCast on a family of stations all throughout the local area. We are also on the Facebook page of the West Bloomfield Township Fire Department today. Chief Flynn, before we let you go, anything else that you'd like to touch on today?
Well, I guess I just want to reiterate that last point of, please stay vigilant, please stay strong, make these best practices just part of your lifestyle. Hand washing has never been a bad thing. We're doing a little bit more of it. Let's keep doing that. Hand sanitizer, making it readily available so that you have that extra layer of protection. Remember, we clean, we disinfect. That's what we want to do. And we don't just disinfect. We clean something, get all the heavy material off, then we disinfect it. And remember with many of your disinfectants that there is a dwell time. So we don't just spray something and wipe it. Even if you read that Clorox wipe bottle, it says that it has to remain wet in order for it to disinfect completely. And by all means, please continue to wear a face covering. It is respectful. It is kind. It is what we do. If this whole hashtag West Bloomfield Strong really means something to us, then that's what wearing some kind of face covering. It says, hey, I respect you, you respect me, and we are going to get through this together. We are going to do our part so that we can open safely and we can buy this time until we get a vaccine. Because until that day comes, I think we're going to continue to struggle with what the finish line looks like. We need the vaccine, and we need to keep doing these best practices until we get there.
Well, Chief Flynn, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
Chief Greg Flynn from the West Bloomfield Fire Department with us on the Oakland County MegaCast.